My ex-girlfriend of 2.5 years reaches out after 1.5 years of no contact, but I'm not desperate. I just want to know you're still there. After all my growth, is she testing the waters for a rekindle or just seeking validation? I'm torn on how to proceed. Before I explain everything, I hope you can enter my mind and understand my perspective. I am also seeking advice, or if anyone could read what is happening and explain to me a little bit about what they can observe. For the most part, I can look at the situation objectively now, with all emotions aside, but I would appreciate any other input and advice on how to move forward. Context: meeting for our first date. Back in early 2020, right before quarantine, I was a sophomore in high school. I met this girl who would ultimately change my life. I was 16 male and she was 15 female at the time. We were in the same grade because I had been held back. I first direct messaged this girl on Instagram in late December and met up with her for the first time on New Year's Eve. She was interested in me from the start, and that night I became her first kiss. She was the most innocent girl, and I was surprised to learn that she had never even kissed anyone before. Looking back on it now, I think she lacked attention and also was a very dedicated Christian but still desired a boyfriend or someone to find companionship. Over the next 2 months, we went on dates, and I played the part of a high-value guy who could also attract other girls. I would leave her on delivered all day because I was at my sports practice. Before long, she asked me when I was going to ask her out because I was getting into her head. At this stage, I was kind of playing games, getting her attached and making her want to secure our relationship. So I asked her out in February 2020 and we began dating. During the quarantine, the dynamic of the relationship was as follows. As COVID-19 took full effect, I ended up seeing her every single day. I loved being with her and she was so in love with me, but I let her do all the chasing. I would spend 7 days a week with her and did not go a day without talking to her. However, she would primarily be the one to ask me to hang out, and I would show up as myself. She would frequently post about me and give the most wonderful, meaningful gifts throughout our relationship, such as a scrapbook containing all our memories with captions handwritten by her describing each photo. She gifted me letters and picture frames filled with sentimental value that would later haunt me after the breakup. Returning to the quarantine in 2020, we had sexual intercourse for the first time around 3 to 4 months into the relationship. She started crying that night and regretted it afterward because we had both been saving ourselves for marriage. She expressed that she wanted God to be the center of our relationship and felt that we had compromised by engaging in sex, leading her to break up with me. In the following 5 days, while she was house-sitting, she told me she was crying every moment because she loved me so much and did not want to lose me. I told her that I missed her as well and that we could work on it moving forward. We ended up reconciling and resumed dating. We did not have sex for about a month, and after that, it became a daily occurrence for the remainder of the relationship. She felt safe with me and believed we would eventually get married. She always wanted to read the Bible and attend church, and I would sometimes become annoyed because it felt excessive. As a Christian myself, I believe my personal relationship with God is of utmost importance. However, for her, it was crucial to read the Bible every single night and go to church on every occasion it was offered. Our differing philosophies regarding our faith became frustrating for me, and I started to exhibit arrogance about it. You could hear my irritation in my tone as it began to manifest during our time together, and I started to take her for granted. Throughout the rest of the relationship, we broke up 3 or 4 more times over trivial matters, arguments, or other minor disputes because I was immature and did not know how to act as a man in a relationship. We would reconcile each time within a week. In April 2022, I faced the last instance of this. She had come over and it was such a minor argument, but I think she grew tired of these small disputes and asked me if I even wanted to be with her anymore. I chose to act tough and told her no, not really. She left my house that day, and we entered a period of no contact for a few days. Post-breakup, during the relationship, I had become quite pudgy. I am 5 feet 11 inches tall and typically weigh 155 pounds before the relationship. During the relationship, I got overly comfortable and gained weight, reaching a peak of 195 pounds. I do not recall why, but towards the end of the relationship, I began to get back into shape again. After a week, I realized that this cycle of reconciling after a week was not happening this time. I started to grow anxious and began to panic in my own time because she was serious this time. She ended up texting me saying she missed me, and I responded that I missed her too, to which she replied that we could not get back together at that moment. This pattern repeated over the span of a year and a half, what felt like over 100 times. Sometimes it would take her longer to reach out, but she never allowed me to enter a state of total no contact. She loved me and still cared for me but did not want to rekindle our relationship. She merely wanted to know that I was still present. I understood what was occurring and recognized that I should go no contact, but whenever I did, she would break that silence without any intention of reconciliation. Then I would initiate no contact again, and once more she would routinely reach out to check on me, and I would always respond. She achieved what she wanted, which was validation through the knowledge that I was still there and hadn't found another girlfriend. She would provide me with a false sense of hope and inadvertently torment my mind. One day I would feel fine and she would be sweet and genuine as she always was. Then on a few occasions when I had enough of her behavior, I would break my composed demeanor and it would turn into discussions about how I could change, reminiscence about old memories, crying and begging. Yet again, she would express that we should not be engaging in this manner. I essentially frightened her because it was not what she desired anymore. She also never wished to let go, but it became easier for her because she now held the power. I had received a taste of my own medicine. During this period, she occupied my thoughts around the clock. I considered every possible solution to repair our relationship, but it only caused me pain because whenever I devised a solution in my mind, it failed to come to fruition, which was devastating. For the most part, I cried every single day. I would become enraged but channeled my anger and sadness into becoming the best version of myself. I worked out 7 days a week and pursued a shredded physique. I took my fitness regimen too far and dropped to 140 pounds while still being shredded. I had also been enrolled at a community college for a year, working hard to gain admission to my dream school, the University of Southern California. So after a year and a half, right before I began at USC in the fall, I saw her again. I was driving my nice car, shredded and enrolled at my dream school. I truly had created value. However, by that time, her attraction to me had diminished significantly because I had begged and pleaded and no longer embodied the traits of a man. This took place roughly a year and a half after the breakup, in the summer of 2023. I would like to add that I had always worked out and planned to attend USC, but about 75% of my motivation stemmed from her. In the end, I believed I had become a better person, regardless of whether that motivation originated from within or from someone else. I felt like a transformed individual afterward. I began viewing life differently. What saddens me somewhat is that during that time, she never dated anyone, never drank, or engaged in anything inappropriate. She maintained all her values of being a kind Christian girl, focusing on purification for marriage, dedicating herself to work, and even becoming a more committed Christian. She took part in a mission trip to Africa and displayed excellent intentions. She devoted everything to God, which is how it should be for me. Meanwhile, I was sitting there crying, engaging with many girls over that time period, getting fit, making money, and attending my dream school. I was pleased with everything that occurred, but it deepened my respect for her since she had a purpose in her life. During our time together, I had also grown closer to God but gradually drifted away afterward. She then began dating a new boyfriend about a year and a half after our breakup, summer 2023, which occurred just before I actually attended USC on campus, leading me to have my final emotional breakdown. By this point, I had generally moved on, but when she started dating, it prompted one final bout of tears because there was no more of her testing me or checking in on me for a while. I asked her if she had had sex yet, and she said no, as she was saving herself again, which hurt more than if she had simply done so. Somehow she had never done anything wrong. Time at USC, now it is August 2023. I pledged a fraternity and ended up dropping out toward the end. I made a lot of friends and my life consisted of attending classes, drinking 4 days a week, and visiting my friends' frats because I am a very social person and still connected with many individuals. At this point, I had genuinely moved on from her and wished her nothing but the best. Although it was not frequent, I still received messages from her, and she began asking me random questions, as if she needed help with a class, whether I had had sex after we broke up, or if I wanted a pet for my apartment, etc. I continued to respond, but not from a place of need or desperation. A month or two would pass between her messages, and I never questioned it. I would simply answer and move on. While I occasionally had random thoughts of her and checked her Instagram and whatever I had followed her on, I no longer felt the emotions I once experienced. However, I still sometimes think of checking on her, but it only happens once or twice a month. Anyway, at USC, I became somewhat distracted during my first year and ended up being with 30 girls over the span of a year. I developed a knack for this and also for making girls extremely obsessed with me. I felt guilty for engaging with them because I did not share the same feelings toward them. Girls would cry to me and write about me, expressing their emotions and sharing their writings, failing to grasp who I was conceptually. I would never commit to anything because of what I refer to as the first love theory. I did not believe in it until I experienced it. Every girl I met invariably reminded me of my ex. And whenever they did something my ex would not do, it became unattractive to me. It was not that I desired my ex anymore, but rather she had set the standard. While some of these girls were indeed attractive, I still did not care. I could not see a serious future with any of them. Nevertheless, my ex would still occasionally check in on me without expressing that she missed me. She would call me from a no-caller ID and then claim it was not her, even though I believed it was because only she had done that back in the day. To wrap up, I maintained a similar lifestyle nowadays, albeit more calm and focused on my career. Present day, almost 3 years later, with a year and a half of being broken up, and about a year and a couple of months of her dating that guy. I am now 21 and she is now 20. Ironically, a week or two before our anniversary in February 2025, she broke a no-contact period of about 6 months by having her friend ask me a question about some random topic. I found it strange because I had not spoken to her friend female, age 20, since high school, so I instantly found it suspicious. After speaking with her friend, she did not mention my ex at all. She was simply asking for advice. Later that day, I saw on her friend's story that they were together. I then thought it was amusing because I knew my ex had orchestrated that interaction or wanted to hear my voice indirectly. Again, I moved on. She then began ramping up the no-caller ID calls and eventually texted me needing assistance with finance or whatever else she could come up with, all of which she could have easily searched for herself. She once texted me asking what NPV meant. Gradually, we started communicating again without any romantic feelings involved. After all this time, she seemed to have attained some respect for me again. We ended up talking on the phone because I was helping her with homework, and neither of us broached any topics from the past. I caught her up on my life and listened to her. She still does not know I've been with any other girls or what I have become. I presented mostly the truth in a manner that casts me in a good light because I have changed now. I would rather keep that past to myself. I did not even know if she still had a boyfriend. We were simply being friends. Well, she also never mentioned anything from the past, neither about her boyfriend nor anything about our prior relationship. Next thing I knew, I learned that she and her boyfriend had broken up. I was a bit surprised because he was a good guy, but I guess he direct messaged another girl and she opted to end the relationship. I had noticed they were even planning wedding boards on Pinterest, so I assumed their relationship was serious. Anyway, we ultimately met for coffee. We caught up in person, we had genuine conversations, and she told me all about church, going to the gym, and other topics. There was no mention of the past from either of us, and she also revealed that all those no-caller ID calls had indeed been her, and we laughed about it. We met for around 2 hours and it was not awkward at all. I told her I had to leave. If I had to characterize her demeanor during our interaction, I would say that she was just curious and meeting up with me, exhibiting no flirtatious behavior. She is not generally a very flirty person. She was not overly excited to see me, it was just a typical interaction between friends. I teased her a few times, but nothing excessive. After the meeting, I did not think much about it. I have entirely shed any feelings of neediness because I now have my own life and goals. She has contacted me over the past month, roughly once or twice a week, asking for help on various subjects, homework, or other topics. Most recently, she had a project where she needed to interview individuals from a specific ethnicity and asked if I knew anyone. I said yes and connected them. Now, she mentioned that her group would be giving gift cards to the people who participated in the survey and that she wanted to give them to me to distribute to my friends. This is where we currently stand. She just texted me as I wrote this, stating that she might need one more gift card because her group could not find one extra participant. Nevertheless, I do not feel needy about it. I am uncertain about what is occurring. I do know that I would likely say yes to getting back together in the future, but only if it is something entirely new. I also do not mind if it does not work out because I genuinely wish the best for her. I am not overanalyzing it too much, honestly. However, objectively, I can see that it resembles what transpired in the past, except I lack any negative reactions toward it this time. I have been positive and enjoyable to be around again, devoid of stress or neediness. I am still confused about why she continues to seek my assistance, but I do not react to it. With this information, I would still prefer to be with her in the future, and I feel it could work out, but I am unsure how to pursue it from here. This is why I seek advice and for individuals to share their observations with me. Currently, my plan is to continue focusing on my life, pursuing happiness, and working towards my goals. If she chooses to express romantic interest again, then I will take it from there and attempt to create something new. Who knows, maybe I will discover I am no longer interested. The only reason I would consider any of this is that she never did anything wrong or hurt me. I do not believe she ever caused me pain. I hurt myself by becoming complacent and needy. Assessing her level of interest is a bit challenging, though. It appears to be more neutral than in the past, meaning she is not obsessed. She does not view me as a desperate suitor. She is more so testing the waters, possibly seeking validation once more. The rationale behind believing this could still succeed is that her social life primarily revolves around church and work. She commutes to school, is not heavily involved in social activities, and does not go out much. While it is possible that she could be using me solely for validation, I have my doubts. Even if that were the case, I don't think I would be too affected by it. I hope that is not the situation because it would be wonderful to start over with her again. However, I also recognize that she is not the only girl in the world, and there may be someone better suited for me. I simply do not want to jump in and start asking to spend more time with her if she is just looking for validation. I want to avoid making the same mistakes as before. In my mind, I believe she will come back to me after sufficient testing on her part. However, I am uncertain. Summary. We began dating in early 2020 when I was 16 and she was 15. Our relationship experienced multiple breakups and reconciliations for trivial reasons. Following our final breakup in April 2022, I focused on self-improvement, getting into shape, and achieving personal goals. She continued to reach out to me for about 1.5 years after our breakup. She entered a new relationship for another year and a half. During and after her new relationship, she intermittently contacted me, asking for help with schoolwork and unrelated questions. We met up once, but neither of us mentioned the past, and our interaction felt like an ordinary friend catch-up. Now she has been texting me occasionally, but I am uncertain if she still has romantic feelings or is simply seeking validation. I am not desperate to reunite with her, but I would consider it if the opportunity presented itself, as I respect her and believe we could start anew. Questions. What can you observe from her behavior in the present day that would help me determine whether to pursue her or not? What patterns can you identify in either me or her that might suggest a potential for a future together, or indicate a lack of possibility? If there are encouraging signs, how can I transition this relationship from infrequent conversations to going on a date again without rushing things? Keep in mind that she has not shown any flirtatious or romantic behavior, simply continuing to re-engage with me.